blessing here at Kamehameha. And so today, what a beautiful morning we all had, beginning to Hōkūleʻa and welcome our guests. And on behalf of Kamehameha Schools and our Po'okula, Mrs. Kahialani Naiole Wong, who e kalamaia'u, she sends her gracious aloha to all of you. She has taken ill, and so for the day, she's taking it easy as we want her to, as she gains her strength back with that. And so with great aloha, though, she welcomes all of you here, and we, as Kekioka'aina, Pua'a Pauahi, yeah, we too aloha you here in this place, our place as Ohana o Kamehameha. Aye? Aye. So let's have a round of applause for our special guests here today. And we all know here at Kamehameha Hawaii, we've been on a fabulous journey of identity. And we have, because we've been here now for a little over 20 years now, as we have now, or getting close to 20 years at Kalamaia'u, in this place, existing here in Kea'au, in this beautiful moku of Puna, moku o Ke'awe. And so we've been on this journey, all of us, from our Papa Mala'o all the way up to Kulaki'eki'e into our high school grade levels, in identifying who we are as Kamehameha Hawaii. Yeah? We know we are definitely Kamehameha. We come from a very rich tradition, a good grounding foundation, and we mahalo Pauahi for all that she has given us. And we are Hawaii campus. And so who are we? Yeah, we've been on that journey. Who are we? And so for the last 2.5 years, we've been doing that. And this year we rolled out some mana'o to our guests here. The mana'o that we have identified us as O'iwi Edge. In those 2.5 years, we learned with everybody's mana'o here on campus, the Ohana o Hawaii, we learned that we come from a rich tradition, good grounding, yeah, of consciousness, yeah, understanding where we come from, who our kupuna are, and what was set for us to move forward, yeah, a conscious edge. As well as an adaptive edge. We are an adaptive type of people, we persevere, we live hilo. We handle the weather, yeah, we handle the natural elements, and we aloha, that adaptation and that ability to adapt. Yeah? So people of groundingness as well as being able to adapt. And then, so on the adaptive edge, and then finally leveling off with the leading edge. Because we see ourselves with great kuleana. That is not by chance that we are all here, but by purpose. Every single kamali'i that's sitting here is here for a purpose, and we understand that, and they are learning that and understanding that as well, that they have purpose, and they are to take that purpose and lead and push forward. And so, we are O'iwi Edge, and these are all of our future edgers. And the beauty of all of this to our kamali'i is 40 years ago, yeah, little did we know, but right here are our edgers of their time. Yeah? Edgers of their time. They have set that pace for us. And we'll find out, yeah, through the session here today, in talking story with them and being ohana, what was that edge? What led them to that edge? Because they took it. They took it and they went with it. They were very grounded, adapting. When you think about being on the ocean and even getting to that point to go out on the ocean, yeah, being very adaptable and then taking that chance. And they'll tell you the stories of being on that leading edge. And so 40 years ago, they began that o'iwi-ness, edgeness. Yeah? They were our edgers. Yeah? When nobody else may have felt as strong as they did with their purpose, they knew exactly what their purpose was and felt it and moved forward with that. Yeah? That conscious edge, adaptive edge, and leading edge. And so with that, yeah, we want to move right along. And I want to introduce to you no stranger as we move closer to talking story with our kupuna here, yeah, our kupuna edgers. I want to introduce to you Sesi Ha'o. And Auntie Sesi, you recognize her. She is in our Halau Kupu Kupu Academy. And Anake Sesi was on leg 2 of the worldwide voyage. And so our very own edger here on campus, Auntie Sesi Ha'o.
Mahalo. August 13, 2 days into our 10-day voyage on Mama Hōkūleʻa. And I was completely and utterly seasick. I could not handle my food, not even water, and those little ginger candies they kept giving me. I kept throwing it over the boat, over the side of the canoe. And I remember this day, we had just gone through a 12-hour squall, so for our babies, it's like a big rain cloud. And it was 12 hours long, and the fall weather gear that I had on my body was supposed to protect me. Now, one of the things you want to do is you want to keep your core dry, yeah? But it had gotten soaked. And by that time, as I was trying to measure out the directions on the horizon, I'd usually go like this. I couldn't control my hands. And because of that, I couldn't get an accurate read. And this tall, young, handsome man came. And he told me, hey, you don't look so good. You should go down in a bunk and get some rest. And I said, Uncle, I cannot navigate from a bunk. And so he looked at me, he turned to one of my crewmates and said, boy, go down into the hull and pull out a sail bag. Bring me the biggest one you got. And when the boy returned, Uncle opened up the bag. And he looked at me and he said, girl, get in. You want to navigate? Get in this bag. That handsome young man was Uncle John Cruzy. Yikes. But with all his wisdom and with much love, he saved my body from near hypothermia. But more importantly, he saved my spirit from breaking. At that point where I kind of lost sight of that island because I couldn't get my body and my mind under control, he brought me a warm sail bag and told me, get in. And because of that, I was able to make it through. And 1 day later, and 3 sail bags after that, I was able to recover and get out of my seasickness and sail the rest of the way. That is a small symbol, an example of the love and malama that every man and woman that was on this crew has shown to the generations that followed after them. And when Papa Mau pulled that first island of Tahiti out of the sea, and Nainoa and his crew pulled Hawaii out of our ocean, they did more than just that. They reminded us who we are. They helped us remember where we came from. And they made us believe that if you wanted to, there are islands to be pulled beyond the horizon that your eyes can see. They built that for us. And so it is such an honor and a blessing to be able to introduce our alaka'i for today, Uncle Billy Richards, who will then introduce the rest of our crew. And as Uncle is coming up and I hand the mic over, I also want to first and foremost mahalo the man who made it possible. Without him, none of us, the crew here and the generations that followed after, we would not have the legacy that we have today, and that is Papa Mau. So with that being said, I'll turn the time over to Uncle Billy to introduce our crew. Mahalo for being here. Mahalo for all that you have done.
Hello, Mai. I'm Billy Richards. I come from Kailua on the island of Oahu. And I was fortunate enough to be a part of this Edge a long time ago. At the time, when I sailed on Hōkūleʻa to Tahiti, I was the youngest. I was the baby of the crew. But we got there because of all these people. We got there, we got the canoe back because of all these people, and also those who are no longer here with us. You know, on our leg to Tahiti, there's only 4 of us left, and there were 17 people in that canoe. Okay? So there are many people who are still with us in spirit. We'd like to acknowledge them also, yeah? We call ourselves the Ohanawa'a. Ohanawa'a is the family of the canoe, yeah? And in our mo'oku auhau, our mother is Hōkūleʻa, and our father is Maupiailuku. And we all descend from those two. In the very beginning, when we got together, we didn't know each other, but we gelled. We gelled quickly. And so I'd like to introduce to you that crew. Here's Gordon Pi'anaya. He captained the canoe on the way back from Tahiti, along with Kavika Kapahulehua. Call him the elder, and he tells me I'm going to get licking. So, but he's a good man, and Gordon Pi'anaya. In front of me is Kimo Hugo. Got to remember that name, because were it not for Kimo, none of us would be here. None of us. Kimo Hugo was a crew chief during the training sessions of Hōkūleʻa back in the 1975 era. He's the one that selected us. And I'm going to tell you that in many ways there was resistance to us, but he held on. And we're here. We're grateful for him. His job at the time was fire rescue, so he made sure that we were all safe. That was his thing, yeah, first responder. So again, we are here because of Kimo. But I mean now is Kimo Lyman. Kimo Lyman was surprised. All of a sudden, one day he got a call and he said, "You're going to come sail Hōkūleʻa." He got down to Tahiti and the next day they left. But he had to navigate the canoe home. And he's been with us for a very long time. His brother was first mate and captain on Hōkūleʻa for a number of trips and voyages. So Kimo Lyman is a great part of who we are. He participated in the worldwide voyage with us too. And me is Francis Kainoa Lee. He's from your island. He's from here. And he has been with us since the very beginning. I think he, in fact, I know. He started before the canoe was even launched. So he's been around a long time. Francis Kainoa Lee. One of the main reasons I knew we were going to make it to Tahiti was this gentleman here. Buffalo, for those who don't know, maybe you're too young to know, he runs the Buffalo Big Board Surf Contest in Makaha. He is Makaha. Yeah? He is Makaha. Yeah. Now, if you want to stay safe in Makaha, the first person you go visit is him. Yeah? And then you get the word out, and everything will be fine. Good man. He's a waterman, excels as a waterman, and as I said, he was the one that I watched all the time to make sure And he's going to know, he's going to get us there. I know he would. John Cruz from Kauai. John Cruz helped to build Hōkūleʻa. He helped to build Hōkūleʻa, so he's been around a long time too. In fact, when I first got on board Hōkūleʻa, he was the one that was working with us on the front sail, La'ihu. And he taught us how to at least get it up and get it down like where we're supposed to be without running into reefs and rocks at the same time. But John has been not only with Hōkūleʻa for that long, he also launched the largest double hull canoe that we have in Hawaii now called Namahoe. So if you're ever on Kauai, go see Uncle John. He might take you sailing. Over here is Snake Ahi from Maui. Snake is another one of those. This guy owns Honolua Bay. He is Honolua over there and things, and well known for surfing. But what they like about him on the canoe is his steering too. He knows the waves, he reads the waves, and he slides hoku right into where it needs to be when a swell comes. And he's also a good cook. He's one, on Hōkūleʻa, I don't really care who's navigating, because they're all good. I want to know who's cooking. Because that's the most important part. What if you're on this canoe for 30 days, and you're dependent on one cook? The cook better be good, because if the cook is bad, you're going to lose your crew. They're going to get mad and going to rebel. So, sure.
Excuse me, but I left it chair open. John told me to move, but I thought no. This is for Papa Mao.
Okay. For Mao. He's here with us. Maka'ala Yates. He's originally from this island, but he now living in Arizona. He came all this way just to be here with you. He, along with Snake, helped to bring the canoe home to Hawaii from Tahiti. And I'm glad he was able to join us this time and come that far just to be with us. Mahalo. Moloka inui a hina. Penny Rollins. Penny Martin now, but she's still known as Penny Rollins to us. Back in 1976, when they announced the crew, the headline said, all male crew plus 2. Penny didn't like that back then, and she still doesn't, and she lets us know. Okay. But relative to that, see, I mean, she and Kiani Reiner, who's no longer with us, she's also from Kauai, and married to John Cruz. She passed away a while back. They were the only 2 females on board the canoe, and we were glad to have them. They balanced us out, But we've come a long way, and I'm going to take this opportunity to tell you this. We've come a long way from plus 2. And I want to introduce one more person. She wasn't with the 76 crew, but her uncle, Shorty Bertelman, was with us. And he took care of Papa Mau. Took care of Mau, who is now a pole navigator. Her uncle is a pole navigator. Her father, Clay Bertelman, has been a captain of Hōkūleʻa. He since passed away. And her husband, Onohi Paishan, is a pole navigator. So guess who captained the canoe home from Tahiti on our worldwide voyage? Her name is Pomai Bertelman. Would you mind standing, Pomai? So just to wrap it up in that, that theme, Pomai, we start off with plus 2. Pomai from Waimea. She captained the canoe home. The navigator, Ka'iulani Murphy from Waimea. She navigated the canoe home. And the 4 people that made up the nav team, all wahine. So don't you young wahine think you cannot be on the canoe. The canoe calls you, you come. So we're going to open up to questions.
So we want to begin, and I'm going to start off with the first question. But as they're answering questions, we're going to be roaming with a mic. And so if any of you have questions, this is the time for our edgers, our legend here on stage from the 1976 crew, and then some, yeah, ready to answer those questions. And so my first question that I wanted to ask, and we shared about this earlier, a little about that Oiwi edgeness. And it was said that the 76 voyage was one for rediscovery, for survival, for identity. We were looking for identity, yeah? What was it that pulled you to become part of that team? With all that you had, the storms, yeah, on land and at sea, that kept you moving forward with that.
What pulled me on the canoe, actually. When I first got on the canoe was already in Honau. I wasn't part of the crew. Back in the early days, after they launched the canoe, Hōkūleʻa, it was on Oahu, and on weekends they would train these crews. Just ask everybody to come down. Whoever wants to come down, come sail. From that crew, for the people who sailed over the month or two, they chose 18 people to sail it to Maui. When they got to Maui, they repeated the same thing. Every weekend, they asked people to come down and sail Hōkūleʻa to train, and the crew, the captains and people would watch and see who they were going to select to take the canoe from Maui to the Big Island. Oh, here, yeah. And Snake was on that, Buff, and they had a rough trip on that one. But when they got here, they did the same thing. I just happened to be in Honau at the time, and I was asked. The canoe is actually right outside of Haleokeawe. I mean, this is what got me. You're coming down Milkei Road, and you make that turn, you get up towards Honau, and you see Haleokeawe, see Pu'uonua, Honau, and you see Hōkūleʻa right in the middle. And right next to it was this canoe paddling. That was a vision from the past. It's a vision that many of us had not seen until that time. And it hit, yeah. And I think that's what hit us all. And I was fortunate because when the canoe was ready to leave, all the crews came down to the shoreside, the shoreline, and they were wearing, many of them were wearing malo and mailele and tea leaf. And I thought, wow, look at that. And fortunately for me, I was with this guy, Andrew, and we had a outrigger canoe there. And Herb Connie, I didn't know it was Herb Connie at the time, but it was Herb Connie, asked if we could shuttle the crews out to Hōkūleʻa. So we did. Sent them out. And then when we got the last group on board, and there were two kupuna on board. Papa Moses, who worked for Pu'uonua Honau, and Auntie Clara Manis, who was in her 80s. And she was on board too. And so we got the last crew members on board. Andrew and I were still sitting in the core outrigger, hanging onto the yakos. They were about ready to push off when we saw that the crew was in a prayer circle with the steering blades. And so out of respect, we decided to wait until after the pulley was finished, the spout. And what happened was one of the crew members kept looking down at me during the prayer, and he's up on the deck, and we're down here, yeah. And following the prayer, he comes down, and he reaches out. He goes, "I think you belong on this boat." And I said, "What?" He said, "I think you belong on this boat." I put my hand up, and he pulled me up right away, yeah. And from that time on, as I say, that I have one foot in the past, one foot in the present. And it's that Hōkūleʻa provided, I think, for all of us, and he will all say the same thing. Hōkūleʻa provided a doorway to our past. And you go down there enough, you'll feel it too. You know. So that's my beginning, and that's how I started. So, want to ask any questions out there? Question. Who's got questions? Anybody? Nope. Yeah. Wait, one. I saw this hand first. Got a question?
What happens if you run out of food?
What happens if you run out of food? Who wants to answer what happens if you run out of food? Well, we're going to have to cook. What happens if you run out of food?
Okay. When you're on the ocean, you cannot run out of food. You plenty of fish. Yeah? Get a lot of fish. Summer fish. Cannot. You know, the best thing about it, when we sailed with Mao, yeah? He brought out the plastic bag, you know, the black plastic bag. He stripped it and made a lure. And he was catching mahi, aku. You know, he was using even the coconut leaf. He was shredded everything, hook them up on a hook. I mean, to me, it's like a miracle. Yeah, you can use a natural thing and catch anything what you want out there. But I don't think you can starve. But we need the rain. We need the rain so that we have our water to drink, yeah? But I don't think you can starve, you know. Get plenty of fish out there, get so much fish. But you know what? Actually, I'm so happy to be here because my grandpa used to work all our plantation long time ago. And my ohana is the Ka'avaloa, the Bakuakani, the Waipa is all my ohana, so I'm pretty much part of Ola'a, yeah? And I came here way back in the 50s with my dad in Pahoa. So, to me, I'm not only a Maui person, but I'm a, Big Island person because my ohana is all from here too. So, thank you for inviting all of us. Mahalo, yeah?
Do you have to train before you go on Hōkūleʻa?
Do you have to train to be on Hōkūleʻa?
Yes. There's no such thing as no as far as being on Hōkūleʻa. Let me start off. I want to thank my education at Kamehameha. And all of you are presently on your voyage of discovery. Okay. Foremost that you have to remember as far as training is safety. I mean, you have guidelines here in school. You have the red light in crosswalks. You have these airbags in cars. Those are safety items. But now you're taking that step to the kai, to the moana. Okay. It's up to the individual to help the next person to recognize any hazardous condition. So you have to be trained to be observant, yeah? So keep in mind, when you're training for anything, be it athletics, anything dealing with education, cultural survival, yeah, safety. And so I end this by saying that on your voyage, you will be carrying an unseen compass. And this compass deals with morals and ethics. With that compass, only then will these stars and everything of nature that Papa Mao looks to find his islands, will it be that you will be successful. So training covers a wide range in your life, in your voyage. Thank you.
What life lessons did you learn on the canoe that we can apply to our lives?
Say again.
Bill, I'll do it. So our question was, what kind of lessons did you learn on the canoe and how can you apply it to your life?
Penny's the perfect person to answer that.
Well, so Pomai's dad, he coined the phrase, he moku he wa'a he moku. Yeah, your island is like a canoe and your canoe is like an island. And so all the lessons that you learn living on the canoe, you can apply to living on your island. It's like living, the canoe is like living on your island in a condensed situation. You know, it's, you learn that you can run out of resources. You have to use them properly. Can you run out of water? Yes. Can you run out of water on your island? Yes. If you waste it, right? Can you run out of food? Yes. But Snake said we have fish. But if you don't malama the ocean and take care of that fish, there's not going to be any to get, right? So you learn on the canoe to take care of your resources, how to live and share a small space, how to use things efficiently so you don't waste them and you always have them, how to be nice to each other and have respect for each other. And you learn quickly that your life depends on the other people around you. Everybody has to take care of each other, right? You're not in it alone. So there's plenty of lessons to be learned on the wa'a, and all those lessons can be learned, can be then taken to your aina, and it can make you a better steward for your aina and a better person. So I love that question. Thank you.
Anybody back here? Okay, wait.
By knowing and understanding the term of OEV genius, it comes hand in hand with the term OEV genius. And my question that I wanted to ask is, how does OEV genius apply to astronomy or navigation when you're on the Hōkūleʻa?
Have at it, guys.
Can you repeat that just a little slower? Just repeat it, please.
How does OEV genius apply to astronomy or navigation on the Hōkūleʻa?
Okay, define OEV genius.
Okay, so OEV genius is when a group of people or an individual sees a need for a change or a problem in their surroundings, they create an innovation supported by grounded values where over time, its values impacts the community and becomes a genius idea.
Good one. By the definition of that, you guys are all OEV genius, so one of you should respond. All right. Kapena piyanaya.
First, mahalo to all of you. What a great welcome, and our heart jumps with joy. Aloha akua, aloha kaua, aloha kako, including all of those not with us today. So mahalo to you. I am a young graduate of Kamehameha schools. Kalamai, Kamehameha School for Boys. Yeah, first graduating class. This year is an important year for me. I am trying to avoid your question, but there are three of us up here from Kamehameha. Kimo, myself, and Auntie Penny. Yeah, but this year my class is celebrating. Okay, it may sound funny, but my 60th class reunion. Whoa! What you said, ancient? Kaiko. So, all of you out there and us to be strong and ala'i na pua o pawahi. We are entrusted with our love and legacy. Before we always sang Sons of Hawaii, and my granddaughter, my Mo'opuna, who's at Kapalama, says, I will not sing Sons of Hawaii anymore because we are now a co-ed school. And we want to include the wahine in it. So she's been trying to rewrite the school song. Anyway, your Hōkūleʻa is not here today. I'm going to let you guys off real early. The question, your question is a really tough question because everybody, if you ask everybody to give you an answer, you're going to get different answers from everybody, and they're all going to be good answers. Like the young man asked about running out of food. Well, more important is running out of water. So we ration water. We're very strict about the use of water. You don't bathe with it. You use it for cooking and maybe washing your face, but water is extremely precious, but water at the same time is extremely heavy on the canoe. So every time you take water from one side of the va'a, you got to compensate the weight of the canoe. So that was a really good question, running out of food. And I would include water into that question. Now, Norwegianness, that's a brand new word for me. Oh, man. But let me try to put it this way. Everybody in this room was born to navigate. From the time you come into this world, you're a navigator. When you start to crawl, it's amazing. If you watch a little baby crawl, that baby will crawl and find its way around the house or out in the yard. As they get older, they navigate. We navigate. When you came to school this morning, you were navigating. You knew how to get here. So internally, you have been conditioned to navigate. You are also conditioned that if you go to Kea'au and there's an accident, traffic accident, immediately your mom or your dad, their mind will figure out a solution to avoid that traffic jam. That's a form of navigation, also in life and out at sea. So if you can think about yourself being a navigator, how you have to navigate through life, we have to do that out on the canoe too. So it does apply. We all navigate, and some navigate on land. We just happen to do a good job on the moana, on the ocean. So I don't know if that sort of touches on what you were asking, but some of the new words you guys use. I never heard that word before.
Cap, Makala has some insight on OEV Genius.
Yeah, you asked a very important question because it's about identity as well. And, who we are as native people of these lands. In order to even understand the language, our language, the Hawaiian language, you first must understand our culture. The problem is we don't live in that time period that the language was created. So Kulia Kanuku, for example, is not how I don't translate how the translation is of today. I don't translate how they are translating it today because it's not how it was translated in the days before the Ipokea came to Hawaii. So, for example, to me is the life, the breath, the spirit of the land will always be connected to the people and all living things. That's what it means. But you see, the interpretation is we're trying to interpret something today that existed before. We need to understand the before to bring it to today. Yeah. And so therefore, you should always, in fact, who was Kulia, the young lady who's going around the microphone, where is she? Kulia, where are you? Kulia, could you come up here, please? And we had a conversation about this very question. I know we're going to go, I know it's about navigation and all that, but it has to do with our culture, being in tune with nature, with environment that's around us, but that's who we are. So I want Kulia to explain that our conversation that we had earlier about her name.
So, like he said, my name is Kulia, and it's a cutoff from my whole name. So my whole name is Kulia Ikumo Holomua Iola. And when I told him that, he asked me, what does that mean? And I told him it means to strive for success in life. And then he told me that if the term strive is not the correct word for the translation of Kulia. Strive means that on your path, you're struggling to get to success. And if I put it out there that I want to struggle, then I'm going to struggle. So if I change what I'm saying and take out the term strive, then I will be successful and I won't have to struggle.
So how are you interpreting it now?
Now I'm interpreting as I will reach.
No.
No?
I will is future tense. So it's you are.
I am.
All right.
So I don't mean to speak about this too long, but I feel it's very important for all of you in here to understand a very simple concept of who we are. The way we talk to each other, the way other people in the world don't understand how we cyclically communicate with one another. It's our heritage, it's our aina that speaks to us, that we are connected to generations and generations of people who lived in harmony with nature. And you are, when you say who you are, be clear about that, so therefore, life will be clear for you and not clouded. And reaching your island that you're navigating to will be quicker, clearer, and more straightforward. If you're confused, then it's the opposite.
Yo.
This might be a personal question, so feel free not to answer it. But do any of you guys have any personal stories about Aikau? And how did you guys' perspective on Aikau change? Or how did your perspective on Papa Mau change after the passing of Aikau?
His perspective on Aikau. Share a personal story about him. Your perspective on him.
Aloha. My name is John Cruzy from island of Kauai. You guys make me proud. I can get to the Eddie question, but for the first 10 years of my life, I was raised by my grandparents on O'Hare and Kino'ole Street in Hilo. And we used to go down to Javier Brown's house, which is down, and the Ole wasn't KTA, Ole had Kai store up on the hill. And my auntie is Pi'ilani Dishe, is my auntie. The other auntie just passed away, was Irene Wessel. But to tell you about when we came to this place, again, Kalamai, we're sorry we got late, but we ran out of wind. Okay? We went to the wrong school. But it's all right. We went to another school. I was thinking, We should have one over here and one over there, a talk session. As far as your Eddie question, I went to Roosevelt High School, and Eddie went to Roosevelt. They were, he and his brother Clyde and Solomon, they were a little younger than me. I was in Myra Aikau's class. The Aikau family lived in Awailimo, the district of Awailimo, on the other side of Hōkūleʻa. And they lived in a Chinese graveyard. And when Eddie got picked, was honored to be one of the first people on that first crew that sort of like we were going to sail this canoe, that we had never done this in 600 plus years. We were at, you know where the natatorium is in Waikiki? Prior to that, we'd sailed up from Waianae to Makaha to Pokai Bay to Makua, then to Hanalei. And Eddie was on that crew with Buffalo, Duki Kuahulu, Clifford, Nate Kawani, and Lucky Pihana, and Kimo Hugo with Herb Connie. My recollection of all that time, so on their way back, Bill was on this voyage to go back to Oahu, canoe swamped. And this is like 3 months before May 1st was the jump-off date for us to go to Tahiti. Within that time zone, Eddie went back to his job, regular job for the city and county of Honolulu as a lifeguard. I always knew about him, and I admired Clyde and Eddie. Clyde is his brother. You know, you think about things that have happened after 1976, which was a successful voyage. You know, when you're doing these voyages, you got to have some apprehension, and you got to be kind of, we got the training. You got to have make peace or make what they call pono with your family. For that land canoe, got to support the ocean canoe. So you make peace with your family, and you know you're going to be gone. And at the time, I didn't know that was going to be this epic. I thought, you know, we can do this because we had Mao, we had Buffalo, we had Dookie, Clifford. We had the best on that first trip, and the trips coming back from Tahiti to Hawaii. Those are I like to say, those are the A team. You know, like we were like F troop. The idea of, so we made it. We went to Tahiti, 31 and a half days. Canoe turned around, and June 1st, July 1st, it came back to Hawaii. So then in 1978, we tried to go sail back to Tahiti. David Lyman was the kapena. Gordon's brother was the radio operator. First mate was Leon Sterling. Gordon's brother was Norman Pianaya, lives in Waimea. Himself a distinguished captain. He was a crew member. At the time when we left, we were pretty much overloaded, so we tried to balance. When we were at the Honolulu Harbor, before we went on this trip, we tried to balance this canoe out. Canoe you take about 300 gallons of water, and whatever you catch rainwater, you can get it off the sails. You don't drink that water. You can use it for cooking. Anyway, we were too overloaded. And when the starboard hull took on water on the back part of the hull, we tried to come up into the wind. This is all in darkness now. Collapse the front sail and try to bring the back sail up and turn off the wind, turn down. And Eddie tried to steer the canoe with the steering paddle, the port side steering paddle, to try to make the canoe turn downwind. When we did this maneuver, seas were 12, 15 feet, gale wind. Canoe just stood up like a Hobie cat for about a minute, and then it flipped over. So then I thought to myself,
He and I was with Eddie. That time the canoe first ever used Lauhala sails. When we did that voyage, when they opened up the sail, man, it was so chicken skin because you know how the Lauhala, when they wove in the eyes of the Lauhala, yeah, like a wrinkle, yeah. But when the wind would catch the sail, it was like a regular canvas sail. How so much power our ancestors knew what to do with the Lauhala sails. But these particular sails, they got it from one of the Pacific islands down in the South Pacific.
Kapinga Marangi.
Yeah. And then, we flipped over with the canoe. So much things happen so fast, yeah. Some guys get shook up, but I was yelling to everybody, no, don't throw your clothes. Keep your clothes because it's going to keep you warm. Out there, it gets really, really cold, But anyway, we was huli, the canoe huli, and we tied ourselves with the kaula, yeah? From one end to another, just to have us peel it to the hulls, yeah? So that if you fall asleep, you don't get drifted away. And we pretty much stayed together all night till the next day and figure out how, if we can use, we had this crank, was that radio, yeah?
Yeah.
That we threw in the water. It wasn't working. So we tried to get everybody together. We know we had water in the canoe. We know had food in the canoe, but all the upala was going, floating here and there. The funny thing about it, Sam Kai had his coal bowl. It was floating in the water early in the morning, and the thing floated away. Floated away. Just what happened? They didn't even, everything came back. And the bowl and everything came back to the canoe. Maybe it was meant for him to get it back, yeah? But within that time, we had the surfboard. You know what? For me, I never said nothing to the captain. I grabbed the board. I paddled. I was thinking how the wind was blowing, which way was going, which way easy to paddle to the island, yeah? So I paddled away. I was trying to go to Oahu. And I could see back. The canoe was this small. But it just happened, the Coast Guard plane, one C-130, yeah? Came over, but I thought maybe they could see us, yeah? So I kind of went, paddled back, but eventually they never find us, so then Eddie took the board and tried to get help. That's why we're still here, because of Eddie, yeah? He gave his life for us to be here and sharing all the experience and keep on sharing so that our kids and their kids can understand what it takes to sail on the ocean and how to take care of each other, yeah?
The other thing that when Snake paddled away, we stayed in the water until the Hawaiian Airlines flight flying out of Kona. 27 hours upside down. People like Snake said, we got all the shroud lines that now were used to be holding up the mast. Now that thing is back down. So all those slack, so all this line, we took it off, and Tava Taupu said, hey, we'll tie the line like so we can hold on to this line, because now the canoe is totally upside down. So think in your mind, you go to a door and you put your fingers on the edge of that top of the door and you try to hang over there. And then having that in the ocean, you cold, I don't think anybody was fearful. I think they were just concerned that, in my mind, I was thinking, oh, when Eddie paddled off, this trip is over. And, you know, I think I know for certain that I always used to think that, hey, maybe another big ship that we didn't see picked him up. But years later, when we were doing another trip, somebody in the South Pacific, in Micronesia, they got a hold of a snake. And they said they found a city and county lifeboard with all this limu growing all over it, all encrusted, floating. And this was by Saipan. You know, so you never know that if you're together as a group, as how you guys are real close on this school, you're going to remember all the good things and all the not so good things that all your schoolmates did. And this is how you got to be on this canoe, because you only have a little bit of space. And then I like to say another thing. Hey, you know, the whole time I was fortunate to be during the 60s and the late 60s, 70s, a lot of social change, the war. We had all come home from the war. We didn't know anybody. We didn't know each other in that war. But yet the canoe, that Hōkūleʻa, grabbed us with Kimo's help. And Snake was just telling me, gee, it's kind of ironic. We're all these veterans, and we got to do the next step. We got to tell the story. And so all these 40 years, you know, you think, oh, well, I got to get a regular job. I got to get a family. I got married to Kiani. I had one son. And my son, Kepa, he cannot, his mother was buried off the canoe. And it's hard for him. He's 35 years old. It's hard for him just to see that Hōkūleʻa, because it reminds him of the mother. So your question about Eddie, I hope I could answer and Snake could answer. We would always go with Eddie. Eddie rides that canoe every day. Like if you go to the Hōkūleʻa, when it's down at the Naniloa, there's a plaque on the back. These are all the people who passed on to the next life. And then there's the plaque with Eddie. He gave his life, so all of us are still here. That's just one of the stories. Thank you.
Okay, we have time for one more question.
What if you don't like fish?
You're not going.
That's a good question. I hope you enjoy staying at home. And the reason why I wanted to answer the question, because on the 1980 trip, we carried two women on board, two great women. One was Marion Lyman, young thing, blonde, young thing, Kimo's sister, and her brother Dave Lyman has been with us And then the other was the grandmother, Joanne Kahanamoku Sterling. But the question is, what if you don't eat fish? Like I said, stay home. Go to KTA, buy something else. But 2 days out at sea, we're out at sea. We're headed to Tahiti. And this person comes up to me and she says, "Hey, Cap, I'm a vegetarian." That's almost like saying, what if I don't eat fish? So I introduced her to Saloon Pilot crackers, the big round crackers, and bottles of peanut butter. And I said, enjoy the trip. Yeah, she was seasick like, so, we have a committee that is supposed to screen everybody so that, for compatibility, for health problems, and I'm going, they never ask the question, what are you allergic to, or are you a tofu freak, or, and she comes out, there's nothing we can do. We're 2 days out at sea, only 28 more days to go. So fortunately, we carry a lot of peanut butter, And we had another guy that came up, he says, "Hey, Cap, I'm allergic to everything processed in this can. See this label? I'm allergic to that, I'm allergic to that." So you know what I told him? This is called Saloon Pilot crackers. And this is peanut butter. Yeah. Good question. Yeah, that's a good question. I want to get back to Eddie's question. You've heard responses from crew. I knew Eddie, and I'm fairly close to the family, the Aikau family, have been. They talked about the Lauhala sail, snake open, open. The two guys that were bending on the sail that day you guys left? Was me and Kimo. Kimo Hilga and I. We were out there on the lawn putting the Lauhala sail together. Yeah. But getting back to the question about Eddie, and it doesn't have to be Eddie, it could be anybody. I have a sort of background going to sea. Here's another gentleman, Leighton Seal. Stand up, Leighton. I want him to meet you too. Okay, enough, not too much. No, don't pay him too much. But Leighton is also a Kamehameha graduate. Leighton, my brother, myself, Kimo's brother, Dave, we're all what we call mariners. We went to sea for a living. Leighton worked himself up to be what we call the port engineer for Matson Navigation Company. He was in charge of every Matson ship in Honolulu, came to Honolulu. Tremendous job, tremendous accomplishment by a Hawaiian. First time we had a Hawaiian that high up in the administration. But getting back to Eddie, it does not have to be Eddie, it could be anybody. If they are on my canoe and we capsize, there's an unwritten law around the world, you never leave the vessel. Yeah. Sometimes you may hear your tutu or somebody saying, never turn your back to the ocean, right? It's the same thing. You never leave the vessel. And think about it. If Eddie had stayed with the canoe, just think about it. You don't have to answer, just think about it. So if you're on a canoe with me and we're in trouble, I am not going to let you leave that vessel. Yeah.
So we certainly want to mahalo our living treasures here on our stage.
one really important person that was going around with the walkie-talkie and having you guys ask questions. He has roots to Hilo, his mother. I consider his mother the first lady of Hōkūleʻa, Auntie Bella Richards. Always there for us. Yeah, always there for all of you. So the person who was going around with the mic, Billy, please stand. Billy Kahalepuna Richards.
Thank you, Gordon. Just so you know, I live on Oahu, but my mother was born in Pa'awilo. My family actually lives in Keokaha. My grandmother was named Rose Kuomo'o. She used to teach hula here many years ago. And my mother took the hula to Oahu, and she became very close to the canoe. In fact, one of the things about the 76 crew, which to me is very different now, is that our families were involved. Not just the crew, but our families. Our mothers and fathers would come down and help. Our sisters and brothers, everybody would come down. So that's something that, I bring your family with you. You come to the canoe, bring your family with you, because it belongs to all of you. Yeah, all of you. And we hope you move forward with the canoe, because we're getting older, yeah. So it's great to be with this group of.
Yeah, Billy's like the glue. He really does help keep us.
Yeah. I like John Cruz. He says, you ever heard of the movie Dances with Wolves? He calls it Voyaging with Wolves. These are the wolves, every one of them. So, but anyway, thank you for today. Thanks for having us. We really appreciate it. Hallelujah.
William.
One thing, for everyone. There's a number of crew members up here that you weren't able to speak to or speak with. So during lunchtime, feel free to approach and then ask them questions too. They have a lot to share, okay? Mahalo.
Okay. Mahalo nui. So let's let elementary, kulaha'aha'a. We'll have you exit out first. And then followed by kulavaina. Okay, let's let our kula ha'aha'a out, and then kula vaina, and then kula ki'e, mahalo. You may exit out the back doors.